What's going on, peeps? Sean here from Hammerhead Garage. What's happening? Welcome to the Sunday Night Spitball, everybody. I first want to say apologies to Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab. Been having some internet issues tonight, off and on. Also, we had the kids over, and everybody, including a grasshopper, was watching things in 2K here at the house, so there wasn't very much internet available. But anyway, hopefully this is coming through loud and clear. So just enjoying my beverage. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, get your popcorn, get your whatever your thing is, and we'll have some babble on here, I'm sure, in short order. Just going to start the night with a video I want to show you guys of somebody that I admire who was racing this week and was just killing it. Mr. Will Sanders in the house. What's going on, William? Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab in the house. What's going on, Art? I just apologized to you there a second ago, buddy, about not being able to get on your stream. We had a bunch of kids in the house, and everything, including the grasshoppers, were watching things in 4K outside. So there was no internet available, hardly at all. Anyway, Robert, thanks for coming on, buddy. I appreciate that. You got your cold snack. Very good, very good. So I'm going to start the night by showing you guys a video of my buddy Rodney, 50 tussin. He got the Flowtech heads on his ride, his LTD, and he made one hell of a pass with that car. And his setup, he's got it in his description. I think I've told you guys basically what he's running. Mr. Sean from this guy's garage. Very nice to have you on the program tonight. Thanks for coming on. I basically told you guys the setup, but he's got a set of Flowtech pedestal mount for the older model cylinder head that he watched some of my videos, I'm sure, but him and his buddy did the porting job to them, and man, oh man, is that thing flying. So let me bring that video up. I'll let you guys watch it, and we'll just take it from there. I was just so impressed with that. It's unbelievable. Let me just find it here first. Okay. I'll enlarge it too, but let me know if you guys can see this, and most of all, if you can hear it. Listen to this thing scream, guys. On this pass here, he left at 6,600. Listen to the time slip. I think he has to get his spectacles out here to see.
Oh, shit. Boom! 658 at 103.
658 at 103, boys. So anyway, the heads work. Obviously, he picked up 0.2. almost 3/10 from his other time. And, you know, congrats, Rodney. You did an awesome job. He does watch this channel, so he'll probably see this. But that thing is rolling, man. Like, that thing's rolling. 2650 is the race weight. 513 rear gears. He's running a 2-step. He's running a short block 5.0 motor, stock cast pistons crank. 250,000 plus miles on that short block. He's running Flowtech heads, Victor Jr. intake, a quick fuel 650 or 750 carb. I'm not sure which. And then the mods he's done to the 5-speed to the T5. But man, that thing's rolling the coal, buddy. She's working good. I was happy for him because he's working hard on that car, right? So anyway, yeah, homeboy's moving. You're damn straight he is. The thing I like about Rodney is that he does everything himself. He doesn't outsource a lot of stuff. He does just about everything that he can humanly do himself in his own garage. And yeah, he's got the experience. I mean, he's been racing a long time since 5 liters, you know, came out, were first cool. You know, they're always been cool in my opinion, but a lot of guys that run different cars like Dodges and whatnot think they're slow, and I don't really think a car of that like that is slow. But that's no nitrous, no supercharger, okay, no forced induction of any kind. That's naturally aspirated, knowing how to shift with a good setup and doing your thing, right? So I mean, hats off. If I was wearing a hat, I'd take it off, right? But anyway, how's everybody doing? Hope everyone's doing good. I'm having a bit of a crazy week here this week. I've heard a lot of feelings this week. It seems like it's hurt feeling week. Maybe I should get some reports put out so people can sign the hurt feeling report and send it in. But and simply nothing bad, but simply just by having an opinion, I've hurt a couple people's feelings this week. But anyway, it happens. I'm not going to apologize for it because that's just the way it is. I mean, I can't change now, boys. I'm too old and too ugly for that. Takes years. Yeah, absolutely. It takes years. And he's just giving her the beans, right? Hopefully I'm not breaking up or stuttering the channel tonight. Like I was telling you, it's been raining cats and dogs here all day. When it rains, my internet takes a dump. But anyway, yeah, so in any case, what's been crapping? You guys probably seen my video there with the fuel tank debacle. I've been dealing with that this week, trying to figure out how to get everything back to normal, if there is a normal. But I think we got her sorted, boys. I'm pretty sure. I got the fuel tank from Rock Auto, and I have to take it in and get a spout welded onto it in order to accept that stock fuel hose for filling it. So as soon as it's done, I'll get her back together and I'll shoot another video of that if you guys are interested in that. Tom Cook, thanks for coming on, Tom. Good brother, better today. Yesterday was a rotten day. It was life. Yes, you're loud and clear. Good, very good. Yes, Mr. Tom Cook in the house. Tom's got a really awesome Model T Ford and a really cool car. And I believe he told me it was his father's car and he was the original owner. So that is really cool. Yeah, it's not hard to come by a fuel cell, Robert. It's just everything in Canada is extremely expensive, buddy. So if I ordered the cheapest fuel cell I could find on that had a fuel sender so if I could have a gas gauge, was about $200 or $300, about $300. That wasn't even including shipping. That was just the cost. And then there's duties and everything else associated. My brother from another mother, this guy's garage will tell you the same thing. I love the Model T and A. Yeah, they were the very first hot rods, right? Very cool stuff. I love all that old stuff, right? I think I even have a video, boys. If you go on my page and go back away, I got a video of a model. It's a Model A, but it's like a 27 or a 26. And you can see me taking a drive in it, and we blew the beluga horn and all that stuff. And Oh, I apologize, Tom. Great grandfather was the first owner, and he still has the car. Boys, how cool is that? That's awesome. But anyway, yeah, they're very cool cars. This one still had the crank starter on the front, and he goes, I had to hang that bastard on the wall, he said, because I almost broke my arm on it a few times. And there is a right and a wrong way, apparently, to start those things. So, TNA 2 here for under 100. Yeah, well, everything's cheaper in the USA, Robert. Like, go look at my video, hot rodding in Canada, the woes of hot rodding in Canada. I have a video called that. If you want some examples of how hard it is to get any parts up here. Like down in the States, of course, you have a much larger population down there. So there's a lot more to choose from. And I think Summit Racing in a lot of places, if you call in by 4 p.m., you could get overnight or get same day or next morning delivery. I don't know if they do that now, but they were doing that for a while, them and Jegs, and I think there was another company that was doing something similar to that. For Canadian people, we rely on Rock Auto, to be honest. They seem to be really awesome. The good thing about Rock Auto is they have their own a brokerage house. So if you pay one price, it includes all the duties and brokerage and taxes to bring the parts into Canada, which helps us tremendously on the back end, because everything here in Nova Scotia is 15% HST, plus you have shipping costs and you're paying tax on that too. And, it is not cheap. That's why Sean and I don't buy as much stuff as we probably should or can. We try and make do with what we got, or we make it, or get it used, or get it from somebody else if we can, right? But anyway, yeah, boys, so I'm just enjoying a beverage here. It's 3-day service now, is it, for them? That's still pretty good. Like Canadian standards, it used to be by fast carrier pigeon or whatever came first, right? So lots of times we wait for a long time to get anything. Used and abused, yes, sir. There's nothing more heartbreaking, boys, than buying a used supercharger. How many of you guys have ever bought a used supercharger that wasn't completely bagged out? I don't know of any, but maybe there is somebody that's bought one. I don't know of any right now. But just as an example. But anyway, yeah, so all those people that are watching this, if I hurt your feelings this week, sorry. But, you're allowed to have an opinion still, and it may not gel with your opinion. And I've never, ever said that all my opinions would gel with your opinion. I was just basically trying to point out to somebody that it doesn't matter if you've got 500 horsepower. If you can't get all that to the ground and you're spinning, a guy with a 250 horsepower car that's hooking, that knows how to drive, is going to whoop your ass. That's just the way it is, right? I didn't make up those rules. That's the way, that's how that works. So I kind of suggested, and I don't like telling people what to do with their stuff, but I kind of suggested to them that maybe you might want to look into getting some sticky tires, putting them on, and then heating them up by doing a really long burnout to get them hot, because they're the kind of tires that you really need to get hot. And then try, with the draggy, try your 60-foot times, and I'll bet you they're going to improve quite a bit. For instance, my buddy Justin put a video out from Skull Garage this week with his Nova, and he was just playing around on the back streets. And he annihilated the tires in first and second gear with that car. I mean, annihilated them. And the draggy showed something like a 240, 235, or 240 60-foot time. And he's spinning the rubber, man. And like, that was the best he could get out of it. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I bet you if I put my slicks on and heated them up, he goes, it'd be a 148. Right? So that just goes to show you. If you guys are looking for quarter-mile times, or you're looking for eighth-mile times, the key to it is the 60-foot. That's where all the magic happens, right? And Dr. Art, you can contest to this, because you've raced the Ranger, and I was trying to tell this guy that A Ranger with a fairly decent motor in it with good hooking tires is easily in the 12-second bracket. What kind of times were you running with your Ranger? In the 12s, right? Correct? Without power adders, just normally aspirated. In the 12s. I'm not saying I know everything, boys, but I'll tell you something. I didn't get these gray hairs by accident. I have learned a few things over the years, right? For one, I know that when you have a fuel system that's plugged up, it's got nothing to do with timing while your engine isn't running good. It's got everything to do with no fuel delivery into the cylinders. So here's my proof right here. 12s, yep. See, what were you running? Like 1280s, 1270s, something like that? Throw a time on there, just so I've got some proof to show somebody else that that those trucks are capable of those times with sticky tires. Who's your drag radials? 275s for the win. Yeah. All day. 275, 15, 60R15 or whatever those things are. I think they call them, what is it, a 26? What would that be? Would that be a 26? A 15-inch rim? I guess so, yeah. So here you go. 1280 at 109 miles an hour. That's Ranger with 383, you know, probably making about 400 horsepower, give or take. So there's a guy right there that's done it. So it's not too unrealistic to think that my truck's going to be in the 12s with good sticking tires. I'm sure it will be. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't have to be right. In fact, I can be wrong and don't really care one way or the other. It's about you guys do what you want with your own stuff, but don't tell other people what they should do with theirs, right? I guess is the lesson to be learned. You probably got some more mile per hour. Yeah, like the mile per hour to me suggests that there's more in that baby, right? Small block, crap heads, good cam. Yeah, and you're not even running really good heads in that thing, right? I'm not saying the heads I got on there are better, but the airflow suggests that they'll support 500 horsepower all day long. So I'm sure it'll be decent. 1/8. No, that's quarter mile times, Robert. So I don't know what he's running in the 8th. I don't know if, Art, have you ever ran that truck in the 8th? I don't think you have you? Well, I'm not sure, to be completely honest, if he has or he hasn't. I got some bugs landing on my screen here, so if you see me licking my finger, like rubbing on the screen, that's why. But anyway, I just want to, like, the reason why I like Rodney stuff so much is because look what he's doing with basically a pile of junk. No offense. Like, it's not junk, really. To me, it isn't anyway. I think it's cool as hell, but look what he's doing with junk. So if he can do that with what he's got, then there's no excuse, really. Yeah, 840-ish in the 1/8 mile. Yeah, but if you tap that 840 into a quarter mile calculator, give or take, you're going to be in the 12-second bracket, somewhere in the mid 12s, I would think. But anyway, the times really don't matter that much, to be completely honest. I mean, a 13-second car is pretty quick. I've been in everything from a 10-second right to a 17-second daily driver, and 13-second car is still a fairly stout street car, let me tell you. And there's not a lot of guys. There didn't used to be a lot of guys that were running in the 12s or 13s. Nowadays, probably you can just go out and buy yourself whatever off the dealership floor, and you're probably going quicker than that, would be my guess. But any case, yeah, so Art, I enrolled in Sean's auto body course tonight. I was telling him that I'm a pretty crappy student, so I'm going to check out his auto. He's running a series now on auto body repair that you guys might want to check out. This Guy's Garage on YouTube. If you're on here, Sean, put your link up in the comments here. But anyway, he's a good auto body guy, and if you guys want to learn stuff about auto body, definitely check out that series. Go watch it. I like series because it's a whole bunch of videos about the same subject. So there's usually a lot of stuff that you can pick up from people that way. Foot brake, loose converter, cheap fun. Yeah, exactly, man. And what other reason really is there to do it? You're not going to get a trophy, or if you do, it'll be like a participation trophy that's worth about $10. So, I mean, it's really not about that. It's just about having fun with your buddies, right? For the you should really have a higher. Yeah, that's why I want to run four tens in mine. Not that I plan on doing a lot of 8th mile racing, but I think my combination is going to just come alive when I put 410s in the back of that thing, and I'll have videos about it in Mexico, of course. Yeah, put your channel link in here, Sean, if you can. I think you can. If not, I'll grab it. And you guys go check out his channel and subscribe to his channel and check out his series on auto body work. He just started the first video there tonight. Explorer motor 2000 P heads, of course, but I'm running Terminator X and Summit's exhaust with T5. Yeah, that's a great driving combo right there, man. All day. P heads, the people's head. That's what Rodney calls those. And there's nothing wrong with P heads. They work just fine. I like the red line converter. Well, clutch, yeah. 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 Oh, it has to be a moderator. Okay, let me grab your channel then. I should just make you a moderator, but I think I have to be in the other program in order to do that, not through StreamYard. We'd have to convert over to. Well, I'll tell you what. Next week, let's do a non-StreamYard stream. We'll just do a regular YouTube type stream, and then I'll make you guys moderators. Let me just grab Sean's channel here. And yeah, this thing's slower than dirt on a Wednesday night. Hang on here. Bear with me here, fellas. Just going to grab the link for Sean's channel here. Copy, StreamYard, comments, paste. Boom. Should be boom. Boom. There you go, boys. Go check it out. Robert, is that the motor in that Fox body? That's what Will wants to know. Yeah, so there's Caper's channel. Go check him out. Give him some love over there. And Sean was really instrumental in helping me grow my channel. He promoted me a lot of times to people, and I appreciate that. And we should all be promoting everybody else's channel here, boys. Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab. I'll put the link up to his channel here as well while I'm in this deal here at the moment. And whoever else wants their link, just shout out here and I'll grab it. And because it's a community, right? Like that's what we got to understand. It's not a competition. We're a community of guys, right? And we should support each other, in my opinion. So here's Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab. Go check his channel out. He's got some pretty cool stuff going on over there. He's in the process of doing some body work on his Falcon. And go look at the Falcon build he's got. He's got a Turbo Falcon. It's a really cool car. He's also got a Ranger too with a Chevy motor in it that we always rib him about, but it's still a very cool truck. So that's his link for his channel. So go give him some love. Who else here, boys, wants me to give them a shout out? Just speak up. I'm not saying I'm like the guru of shout outs or anything, or that anybody's going to really care too much what I got to say. But in any case, yeah, so Robert, he answered you there, Will. Yeah, I know what this comment's going to be. Are good, I can't lie. You know what, boys? You guys know my stance on all this. I don't care what engine's in your hot rod or your car. As long as you like it and you built it and you think it's cool and you're working on it and you're out there sweating and grunting and bloodying up your knuckles with the rest of us, I'm on board, baby. I love Fords, but damn, those things make power. Yeah, Chevys always did make power. There's no question. Ford motors can make a lot of power too, though, if you got the right combo. Like they can. Like I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys have seen many 408 strokers, Windsor style strokers, but they can make the business. They're just as quick as anything else out there. I'm a painter all my life. I don't matter what motor you're. Yeah, it really doesn't at the end of the day, Robert, make any difference what engine you got in there. As long as you enjoy it, man, that's the whole deal. Like if you guys go back and watch some of my driving videos of the Ranger from last year, unfortunately, I haven't had it out enough to get any videos of it this year, but that's going to change. But anyway, you'll hear my voice change when I'm in Mexico and I'm really giving her the business. That tone of my voice, it signifies or should signify to you guys that things are going on in the cab. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm hitting some pretty ridiculous stuff with it. The speed is getting a little retarded. And, that's why my voice keeps doing that. The truck's quick. There's no doubt about it. Just a fluke that won. The LS was just a fluke that won. Ford motors make power, but cost a bit more. Yeah, they do cost a little more money. There's no question. He was calling. Been fun. Oh, thanks a lot for coming on, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Compression and good head, yeah, absolutely, buddy. If you're even if you're not doing an NA, if you're going to do an induction or a forced induction setup, good cylinder heads is the key, boys, because airflow moves there a bunch of times, right? Compression too. If you're going to run an NA setup, squeeze it. Hey, Jody, what's going on, my man? Cool. Did you get out on your scooter at all? Yeah, did you get out on your scooter? I put on 50 miles today before the rain start. I got caught in the rain actually on the way home with it. I was just pulling up the yard, the road that comes up to my house, and it started pouring. But anyway, I got in without getting too wet. But I don't care if I get caught in the rain. I just was mad at myself because I left my soap at home. I normally have a bar of Irish Spring so I can take a bath if I get caught out in the rain, right? Anyway. Damn good set of trick flows, but you're not making at least 8-to-1. Yeah, 8-to-1's even low, man. Like if you're gonna run an NA engine, my advice to you is try and get it at 10-to-1 at least. And the better fuel you can get, the higher you can make that happen. Took a little hot lap, dodged the rain. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I have to get out on my cycle these days in order to keep my anger in check, boys. and you can contest to this, Jody. The bike helps a lot in that regard. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely, boys. Yeah. Wind therapy, bro. Yeah, scooter is my therapy. Absolutely. Mine too. Some people hit a heavy bag, some people jog, some people shoot, some people do all kinds of different things. I like to ride. I like wrenching on my hot rod. I like driving my truck too. So my plans is to get this tank, get everything I need to do to it. It's looking like I might have to extend the electrical connector for the sending unit, but that's just wire and some bullet connectors. It's not a big deal. And then get her back up into place and dump some gas in her. And I got the carb all cleaned out. I got the fuel pump ready to go. New filters, one before the pump and then one before the carb. And we should be good, ready to rock and roll with it. So I'll have a video of that. I like to sleep. Yeah, I hear you, Will. Such a 9.5-to-1. She's no slouch, but blah. Oh yeah, those things are a riot, buddy. I'm just about 10-to-1. I'm about 9.98, something like that to 1. But I have 58 cc heads and a 0 deck block, so it's Well, for an NA engine, compression means quite a bit. It really does, because the higher your compression, the higher your dynamic compression is, the higher your cylinder pressures are going to be. And cylinder pressure is what builds power, boys. That's why nitrous builds cylinder pressure. Turbos and superchargers build cylinder pressure. That's what makes your grunt. That's the shove on the piston that pushes the crank, right? So the higher you can get that, not to mention a higher compression engine, in a transmission that has a decent overdrive, you'll still get a pretty decent amount of fuel mileage with it, surprisingly. The higher the compression, the better, more efficient volumetric efficiency, the higher it is on your engine. Usually the more fuel efficient to a point it is, right? Unless you're jamming the secondaries open a lot. That's the problem with the Holly, is to try and keep your foot enough to make power, but not so much that the secondaries are opening up. That's why I have a vacuum gauge in the cab. You guys have probably seen a video of my truck with the 1950s vacuum gauge I get in there. And it's got one needle for economy, and it's got one for where the power is starting to come in, and then it's got it sort of in between. I try and keep it in the between area, and it's usually the best. William Sanders, aka Airmal Sandwich. Just got to keep the heat in the holes down. Yeah, that's right. And that again comes back to good fuel. If you can have really decent fuel, you'll keep the detonation at bay, and you want to keep the timing under control as well. Idea what size air intake tube I should use, 3.5, 4-inch. I don't know, Jody, because I don't have an FI type engine. You might want to ask Robert that. Robert's got fuel injection on his Mustang. He wants to know what size throttle body he should use, or the tube that runs to the throttle body for the air. I would say give it as much air as it'll take. It's only going to be limited by the size of your throttle body, the blade. You know what I mean? I think it would be limited by that anyway. Like, that's why I put if you guys have seen my engine, it's got a 5.5-inch K&N large filter on it with the Flow X top, because it's I want to get as much air into that puppy, and surprisingly, I get air through my scoop too. You can hear it sucking, going down into the top of that thing, so you really hear it, and you can feel the difference too in power. Jody's got about 420 flywheel. That's enough to have fun. There's no question about that. Through a bit. Hell, I went through my trans and it works well. Still trying to stay EFI and enjoy the benefits. Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with EFI. I'm an old school guy. I don't like sensors. I have to deal with them with motorcycles, sadly, for the most part, unless it's an older bike. But I mean, each to their own. The good thing about the injected models is they start nice. For street 75 millimeter, Robert, is that what you're getting at there? 3-inch, yeah. I think they're rated in millimeter, are they not? I think they are. At the throttle bodies for Mustang stuff is rated in millimeters, I'm pretty sure. I'm not even sure what stock is. It's 60 something, I believe. But again, I'm not an FI guy, so I don't really know a lot about what the deal is with those. 109 millimeter throttle body. That's pretty big stuff, I think there, Will. You'd probably won't be running that with a 100 millimeter turbo setup, or twin turbo, even better. A lot of port work done on the. Oh yeah, you got a good setup there, Jody, for sure. She's going to make some grunt, man. There's no question. No question at all. The heads are the secret, boys. The heads are the secret. .55 millimeter stock. Okay, so 75 millimeter would be a decent street strip upgrade then, I would think, Robert? I would think that'd be a good compromise between like all out too boggy and not have enough airflow. But with the larger throttle body, do you have to up the size of the injectors, or is that just if you're if you're going to be doing a forced induction deal. Like I know a lot of guys I've heard are telling you they're going from like a 28 pound to like a 42 pound injector. They're up in the injector sizes. 42 pound injectors with a 90 mil throttle. Yeah, that's pushing some air. I'm just sorting out the new fuel tank, Jody. I got to weld a bung for the fill neck to go into it. As soon as I get that done, I'll be putting the brand new gas tank back up into place, putting my pump and rerunning my lines and flashing her up, buddy. There'll be videos of all that. Taking him where you should be trying to get more fuel. Yeah, well, that's the concept anyway. It doesn't always work out in reality, but more air, more fuel, and that's the whole deal with the heads too, right? So if you get more volume of air going through your heads, as long as the velocity is not too quick, you're going to fill the cylinders better. You know what I mean? When the piston's on the intake stroke and it's drawing air in through your intake track, you want to be pulling as much mixture down in there efficiently as you possibly can, right? That's the whole deal. Stock throttle body ported to 70 millimeter. Okay, right on. There's another way of going about it I never even thought of. You can always you can port them out, eh? It depends on your mass airflow sensor. Yeah, it probably would, eh? Now, I do know about injection, boys. I mean, I deal with it with motorcycles all the time, but as far as like Mustang, Ford type fuel injection, other than speed density, a little bit about that, I don't really know a whole ton about it. 70 go 3-inch. Well, what's 3 inches in millimeters? That's what, 75 mil, just about. 24 pounds, 65 psi fuel pressure should be like a 30 pound, I hope. Yeah, but even if they're not, Jody, it's not that big a deal to get in there and change them. You could probably even find yourself, if you didn't want to go new, there's probably lots of injectors on eBay, I would be thinking, that would suit the purpose. You might even be able to find some locally. I don't know how many Fords are running up in your area there. The Walbro's a good pump. Yep, real good pump. I've heard a lot of guys talking about how decent that pump is, and it makes a lot of volume. So it'll be more than enough for what you're doing. So I'm running Terminator X and it's speed. Oh, okay, you're running speed density. Okay, yeah. Now the thing I did hear about the speed density stuff. It's a lot like the non-fly cutting the pistons on the stock Ford short block. You're limited on cam choice, are you not, with the speed density stuff? Or is there ability to burn a chip or something that will overcome that? Because I know a lot of guys that are trying to run like some of the larger cams, like the Crowler and all those different types of cams, are having a problem with the speed density. Seven 5 inches is 70 millimeters. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Same one I'm running. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a carburetor guy. I like sticking to the basics. Now, if I had the same problem I just had with my Ranger, if I had an injected motor, I would have been into a whole pile of problems. I would have had to have pulled the intake off and all the injectors out and blown them all out, making sure they were all clean. And it just complicates everything for my setup. I like old school cool, right? That should be my nickname. But carburetor, basic stuff, a combo that works, right? Yeah, the Terminator X, that's a good setup. I've heard good things about that intake. Air fuel ratios, yep. But But really, I mean, with an injected engine, the only way to really nail that down, and with a carburetor to a lesser extent, is to have a wideband O2 telling you what's going on in your exhaust. You know, if you've got if it's too rich or too lean. And with a carburetor, it's easy. You can just play with jet choices, or you can play with like if it's a quadrajet or a Carter carburetor, metering rods. But with injection, it gets a little more complicated because of the fuel naps and stuff. You know, you have to have the ability to go in there and trim. Or if you've got a laptop, you can plug it in and you can add timing or take timing out of it and change your fuel curve. That was the ideal setup. Yeah, 12.5, 12.8, I think somewhere around there. 13-1, I don't know. I mean, that'd probably be fine too, but that'd be a little bit, tiny bit on the lean side. Depends if we're talking at idle or at cruise, because they're not the same. See, to me, like the great thing about being simple and basic with carburetor stuff is the fact that you're not dealing with all this stuff. The ultimate end goal for any tuner should be that the plugs tell all. You read the spark plugs and learn how to read plugs, and that will tell you exactly what's going on in your cylinder, right? That and having the ability to change things. That's why I was thinking about eventually going to the distributorless ignition system, which allows me to change the timing on each individual cylinder based on the temperature of the cylinder. So you take a heat gun and you can tell, okay, well, this one's quite a bit cooler than the other three. What's going on there? So maybe there's a fuel distribution problem with your manifold or whatever. So what you would do in that case on the cool cylinders, you'd ramp in a few more degrees of timing in that one cylinder, and that should bring the temperature up because you're adding more heat to the cylinder. And you can do that for each individual cylinders of all 8, and that helps tremendously with your tuning, right? And also knowing how to read plugs. You know, it's not just looking at the end of the plug; it's taking the plug off and looking at the fuel ring on the bottom of the porcelain. That's where the real information is to be had, reading plugs. That and the ground strap can tell you if your timing's close. I generally try and get my timing right so that just where it makes the bend on the ground strap, that's where it's starting to show color or end color right there. So you know your timing is happy. But your engine's going to tell you everything you need to know anyway. If it's crisp and there's no bogs and it feels good and it's making power, you're going to know. Like, trust me, you're going to know, right? When my truck was running great and I opened it up and was shifting high RPM through the gears, it was taking everything I could give it, you know, and running nice, right? Good vacuum, good everything, right? When I opened up my secondaries and I pushed it right to the floor, I looked at my vacuum gauge and it said 0. So that tells me that 14.7 psi of fuel or the atmospheric air at least is going inside that intake track, and that's about as good as you're going to get for an NA engine, an engine that's not being boosted. So you know you have no restriction in your intake whatsoever if you're at 0. So you base your timing off of that, you base your tuning off of that and the plugs, and you'll never go wrong on a carbureted setup. Now an injected setup, a little different. There's computer there. Computer that controls timing, it controls fuel mixture, the trims. That has to be adjusted depending on your compression ratio. It's usually done automatically though with most EFI systems because they're self-learning, so they can adjust things based on your compression, the type of exhaust system you have on it, how much back pressure you have on it or don't have on it. There's a million different scenarios there. Your coolant temperature sensor tells the computer what temperature the engine's at, so it can adjust the timing and the fuel richness or leanness based on that. It's always richer when it's colder, and when it heats up, it leans the mixture out. And all that stuff is dependent on sensors. There's also a barometric pressure sensor, intake air temperature sensor that are in the airbox. Generally, they tell you how hot or cold the air is coming into the engine. They feed that information to the computer as well, so it knows to adjust the fuel curve or the timing curve. There's a million things, right, that can make or break it. If you don't know what you're doing with tuning on an injected car, you can learn. There's tons of videos about it, but just the best thing to do when you're starting out is just take the car to somebody that knows what they're doing, preferably a good dyno operator or somebody that knows about injected cars, and then ask questions and videotape it and watch what they're doing and put it on your channel so we can watch and learn. That's the whole deal, right? But anyway, that's what I know about tuning. Vacuum gauge, just a simple vacuum gauge, Jody. You'd be surprised what that'll tell you. That'll tell you a lot about an engine, right? What's going on. Because an engine is basically, at its very root, it's an air pump. That's all it is, boys. It's just it's an air compressor. It pumps air in and pumps air out. That's it. That's all. It's that basic. And it'll tell you exactly what's going on. Yeah, I was going to turbo my car too, my truck, Robert, but I've decided not to at the moment. I want to explore everything I can possibly get out of my NA engine setup before I go that route. Oh yeah, for sure, buddy. It's a friggin' riot. And the main thing, like I said, is that you're having fun with it. That matters more than anything. I mean, the dyno number is good to have for tuning information, but really at the end of the day, boys, does it really matter what the paper says? I mean, if you can get behind the wheel and if you're not smiling at least once during your ride, there's something not right. You're not in the right rig, in my opinion, right? I mean, I laugh constantly when I'm driving my truck because it gets so ridiculous when you're in that sweet spot on the rev range where it's really coming on like a freight train. And if it was a steam powered train, you just see the black smoke just chooching out of her, right? And that makes me laugh every time. Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, just go at your own pace. And again, there's nothing wrong with forced induction, but that's a whole other agenda. That's a whole other deal. When you're forcing an engine to breathe, it's a totally different setup. There's a lot of different things, and it's also an area that if you don't know what you're doing, you can hurt an engine in a hurry. Just ask any guy that's played around with nitrous and had to learn about nitrous oxide in a hurry. Yeah, a dyno is a tuning tool. Exactly, Jody, right on the money. I've ran motorcycles up on dynos before, and we've used them to adjust how the engine runs. I'll give you an example. At school, I had a CBR 600 on the dyno, and we played around and built our own fuel map. We started with 0 on the graph, nothing. We built our own fuel map and our own timing map, and by the time it took a long time, and by the time we were done and ran it on the dyno, we picked up 13 horsepower over the stock power numbers that Honda had. But it took a long time. It took weeks. It took 2 weeks. And we made a lot of dyno runs to get to that point, right? Seat of your pants. Yeah, exactly. The butt dyno never lies, boys. The butt dyno tells all. And there's lots of engines too that have been on dynamometers that show tremendous power potential, but then you put them in the vehicle that the person's planning on running it in, and it runs like a pile of poop. And there's a lot of different reasons why that is, boys. It's all about the combo. It's not just the engine. It's everything else on top of that, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yep. You need to run more pump, and you got to have a good blow through carburetor if you're going to run boosted. But I can do it. I assure you will. I know enough to get that to work. But it wouldn't just happen overnight. It'd take a lot longer than an FI guy with a good tuner. But a wideband is how you do it, right? Strokers are good, Jody, because they make power down lower in the RPM range. They typically do that because of the increased stroke. It shifts the power band usually up to 1,000 RPM down lower. So what you were doing previously at 6,000 RPM, you're now doing at 5,100 RPM or something like that. So that's the advantage of a stroker on the street, is because generally on the street, when you're running it hard, you're not getting into the upper RPM range like you are when you're racing. Or at least you're not keeping your license and staying out of jail if you're doing it. You know what I mean? So this is why a lot of guys like to run stroked engines. Strokers, though, there is a downside to it, and that is engine longevity can be an issue, but also increased fuel consumption. Strokers burn a lot of fuel, like I mean a lot of fuel. So if you don't want to go to the pumps or you don't have access to cheap gasoline, it might not be a good option. Yeah, wide bands, it's the way, man. It tells you everything that's going on in the fuels, like what's coming out of the cylinders, right? How much atoms of oxygen you've got in there, how much carbon dioxide you got in there, everything. And you can base on if it's rich or lean on that. But it's not everything. Like I said, the plugs also play a huge part of that, right? I know a couple guys that have shown that they're lean on the wideband, but they pulled their spark plugs out and the plugs look great. So it's just a tool like any other tool, and it should be taken with a grain of salt, right? Stock crank. Yeah. No, the Ford stuff's good. It's been proven up to 500 horsepower. It'll roll. I'd have no problem putting 500 horsepower through a stock bottom end, cast crank, cast pistons. You know, no problem at all. Yeah. Yeah, this is the place to ask questions about your guys' setups, and so we can all learn together here. And if anybody's listening that might want to come on and ask an ATV or motorcycle question, jump on here. By all means, come on. I'll answer you right now, right this very second. I told you boys that before. Any of you motorcycle ATV guys, if you've got questions, come on here. Yeah, man. I mean, that's how we all start, right? And it's a process, Jody. And I'm not a like super high race professional builder, but I built some motors, and most of my stuff is very good. But I mean, it's also very time consuming, and it costs a lot of money to build a good engine. Even if I'm building my own engine, putting it together, not so much in labor costs, but in time more than anything, right? And it all comes down to cleanliness, how clean your where you are. Okay, we're building the engine. I like it spotless, like a white sheet clean. It comes down to knowing how to read a micrometer and how to use engine measuring tools, and it comes down to sound machining practices. By that I mean the person that's running the lathe or running the milling machine or whatever knows how to run the machine without screwing up the measurement. When you're boring out a cylinder, you should always creep up on that final number, and you should always stop 1 to 2 thou before you get to that number, so that you can finish it with fine stones, or you can, depending on the type of ring you're going to use, it determines what stone you use. Like by stone, I mean how coarse it is or how fine it is, right? You wouldn't use the same honing stone, finishing stone for chrome moly rings as you would for an iron-based ring, and things like that. And good machinists know these things, right? And they're very good at measuring parts. When you're honing cylinders, they're using a sun and hone, and you're heating them up, they know enough to put that cylinder away when they've made too many strokes, because just the heat from moving it up and down on the stones with the honing oil and the heat from your hands is changing the dimensions of that cylinder. So they put it in the cooling tank. They let it cool down for half an hour. They go do something else. Then they come back and do some more, right? It's things like that. That's what builds a good engine. Mopar, not my man. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you on here tonight. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we're talking shop, man. We're talking hot rods. We're talking pistons. We're talking rings, engine building, all that good stuff. Yeah, you got to be clean and accurate. That's the whole key to building engines. Ones that run really well. Mr. Sanders, Mopar Nut says hi. Metal expands. Oh, it sure does, buddy. Honing plates, yes, sir. Absolutely. Because what you're doing with a honing plate is you're mimicking the stretch on that surface that the cylinder head would put on there when the head bolts are torqued down. It's the same thing if you're a line honing through the crank journals. You want to make sure you have those end caps on and they're all torqued to the value that the crank is going to see, so that you get a straight shot through there. So your machining principles are good, right? And tell you the truth, if it's easy to learn how to use measuring tools, and if you get good at it, you can save yourself a lot of machining costs, because believe it or not, there are engines out there that if you take them apart and measure them, they don't need to be machined. They're in tolerance. It's a fairly wide tolerance, but if you can afford it and you're building an engine that's going to see a lot of high RPM duty, like you're going to beat on this thing, you want to make sure that those measurements are right, okay? The engine's going to stay together a lot longer. Generally, high RPM engines don't live an extremely long life before they're torn down. I knew a guy that had an alcohol 327 that used to see 9,000 RPM on a regular basis, and the car was fast. It was in a tube chassis, 69 Camaro. Used to run in the high sevens, low eights in the quarter mile. He used to tear that engine down. I've seen him do it every 50 passes. He'd take it down right to the crank. He'd measure everything, any bearings or anything that looked dicey, or he'd replace. He'd polish the crank. He'd put it back together, all new bolts, re-ring it. He'd check everything. All the springs. He had a valve spring checker. He used to check the pressure on all the springs. He checked the guides. He checked everything, like every little part. He even had the powder that you put on there. I think it's called Magnaflux, to check for cracking and stuff. And the thing was amazing. And he did it all in his home shop. But I mean, it's a skill. It's like anything else. It's like whatever you do for a living, or playing an instrument, or whatever it is you're doing, that you have to do it a lot to be comfortable with it and to be good at it, right? First all the way engine build. Oh, you can do it, Jody. Easy, man. And if you have a question, just shoot me an email, man. I'm not an expert, but I know enough. And if I don't, somebody here does. Yeah. Like when I wipe cylinders down after I hone them, Robert, I use a white towel, and I don't stop washing with hot soapy water until that towel comes out completely white. There's not even a speck of dust left in there. And then I immediately wrap the cylinders in plastic and spray them with like WD-40. So when I go to put them together, they're fresh and they're clean, right? Anything that drops on the floor, it happens to me quite often, it goes right back into the parts cleaner. I never ever take a bolt that's fallen on the floor and put it in an engine. It always goes through to get cleaned again. Yep. That's called preliminary work. And you do that on anything that you're wanting to get true torque values on, Will. You should always chase all the oil passageways out of your block with all the little types of brushes they have for that. And all that stuff's very important, right? .327 moving. Oh, yes. Sonic tester would be cool. Yeah. High money, I think, though, for those. Most guys I know, Mopar or not, they use Magnaflux powder. Oh yeah, there's tons of videos on that for sure. Bottoming taps. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to go right to the bottom. Make sure you've got the right tap in there. You're not trying to use a starter tap to bottom a hole with and things like that. I don't know like what they're teaching kids now that go through mechanic school, but when I went through all that stuff, I had some pretty old school instructors, and we started at the very beginning. Like we didn't skip any of that. We went through all that stuff. And actually, I was the last class in 40 years to learn points and condensers and electronic fuel injection. So we were the very first class and the last class to learn the points and condenser and both systems. So that's something they don't teach anymore. But I mean, working in the motorcycle industry, I still see a lot of bikes from the 60s, 70s, and even older sometimes that have points and condensers in them. Yeah, threaded plugs back in for sure. And yeah, definitely. I always like to put a sealer on there as well, Robert, when I'm putting them things in. I know guys, they put core plugs in, they put a little bit of shellac around the core plug when they knock them in the bore, and that's just another good practice to get into. Core shift is a big deal, man, especially in modern parts that are mass produced. Back in the old days, it used to be an issue, especially for Ford. There was a few year engines there. I think it was the 385 series, the 460, 429, 428 motors had a lot of core shift in certain year motors. It was a real problem for Ford. So you got to definitely check for that. Anderson N412 is a good cam. Absolutely. All day long, Jody, on that cam. I know a guy that runs that particular camshaft in his oval track car, and he says it screams. Who are you asking, Robert? Yeah, man, you can learn a lot of stuff, especially if you grow up in an area where there's a lot of gearheads around. I learned a lot of stuff from my uncles growing up because they were all gearheads, like big time. Like I told you guys before, stories of cruising in Plymouth and Dodge 440s and 383s at 125, 130 miles an hour down the 4-lane in Moncton as a kid. And my uncle's telling me not to tell my mother. But I mean, I grew up around all that, you know. Yeah, I'm 49 too. Yeah, Jody's 49. I'm 49. We're 1972 models, man. '59. Ah, you're not old as dirt. You're only as old as you feel, boys. You know, you still like getting out and doing things, and you haven't resorted to pulling your pants up under your armpits and complaining about the government full time, then you're doing fine. You're doing good. Although I have my days that I do that. But anyway, anyway, yeah, it's no big deal anymore. Age used to be a thing back in the day, but it's right now it's of no consequence. Not to me anyway, because a lot of my friends are older than myself, and always have been. If I go thinking back on it, a lot of my friends have always been several years older than me. Probably you guys are probably some of you are like that as well. 61 model. Yeah, it's funny how we talk about it in terms of years of automobiles. But anyway, this has been a great conversation. There's been a lot of gold come out of tonight's episode here, let me tell you. I was wondering because last weekend we didn't have a great turnout. It was okay, but it was Mother's Day too, so there was a lot going on with that. Oh. It's all good. Yeah, we all got war wounds, my man. My knee bothers me. some, my left knee. I get hit in a crosswalk about 25 years ago by a car as a pedestrian. Just about didn't walk away from that one. You're not alive. They used to say about that when I was in the Army, if a soldier isn't complaining, then you better check his pulse. There's something wrong. Hey, Dr. Art, haven't heard from you too much tonight. Night, man. Thanks for coming on, as always. And keep putting the videos out. I enjoy watching them. I'll sign off then, boys. She's getting pretty late into the wee hours of the night here. Well, actually, it's not. It's 9:30 here, Halifax time. I'm figuring some of you fellas are an hour less than that, and some of you are probably more than an hour. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming on. Really appreciate you guys. I look forward to this every week. I know some of you fellas do too, and I can't wait till you come on next week, and we have a whole new pile of stuff to show you guys. And I'll try and get a good video out this week if I can. We're supposed to have some good weather coming, so that won't be my excuse if I don't get a good video out. It'll either be A, laziness, or B, I don't have what I need to do it. But in any case, I'll do something. Maybe I'll put a few shorts. Oh, one other thing. If you guys want to put your bench seat pictures, send them to me go to my community tab page. We have the bench seat challenge. If you guys want to send me any more bench seat pictures, send them along. There's going to be some sort of prize I'll be giving to you guys. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but send me your bench seat pictures if you've got any, and I'll leave it up there for another week or so, and then we'll shut her off. Anyway, thumbs up for War Amps, guys. Stay classy.